Welcome to EUPrivacyForAll, Session 23 on GDPR, Binding Corporate Rules, Article 43. Negotiations regarding BCRs and Article 43 made clear that European Parliament proposed that BCRs type provisions would also apply to external subcontractors. It also provided a specific provision on employment data. On its side, EU Council suggested not to target external subcontractors, but the group of undertakings or group of enterprises engaged in a joint economic activity. It also stressed that automated processing should be framed and that the mechanisms for reporting the competent supervisory authority any legal requirements to which a member of the group is subject in a third country, which are likely to have a substantial adverse effect on the guarantees provided by the binding corporate rules, should be pinpointed by the controller or processor subscribing to the BCRs. Article 43 of the GDPR states that the competent supervisory authority shall approve binding corporate rules based on three criteria. First, the fact that those would be legally binding and apply to and are enforced by every member concerned of the group. Second, that BCRs would expressly confer enforceable rights on data subjects. And third, a long list of requirements that should be specified by the controller or processor. That is to say, the structure and contact details, data transfers or set of transfers, legally binding nature internally and externally of the BCRs, application of the general data protection principles, the rights of data subjects, notably the one to obtain redress and, where appropriate, compensation, the acceptance by the controller or processor established on the territory of a member state of liability, the information on the binding corporate rules being provided to persons concerned, and then the tasks of any data protection officer, such as monitoring the training and complaint handling. Finally, this long list quotes also the complaint procedures, mechanisms within the group for ensuring the verification of compliance, such as audits or corrective actions to be taken, mechanisms for reporting and recording changes in the BCRs, cooperation mechanism with the supervisory authority, and finally, mechanisms for reporting the competent supervisory authority any legal requirements to which a member of the group is subject in a third country, which are likely to have a substantial adverse effect on the guarantees provided by the BCRs. Last, the appropriate data protection training. Recital 45 also stresses the fact that a corporate group or group of enterprises engaged in a joint economic activity should be able to make use of BCRs. It was suggested by EU Council. It shall, in such a case, include all essential principles and enforceable rights to ensure appropriate safeguards. The definition of BCRs in Article 4.18 stresses that it means personal data protection policies, which are adhered to by a controller or processor. Other provisions in the GDPR stress the fact that BCRs are appropriate safeguards, not requiring any specific authorization from a supervisory authority, but the approval of BCRs. Each supervisory authority has the powers to advise and approve those BCRs and shall communicate to the EDPB, the European Data Protection Board all the approvals. In the directive currently, there is no framing of BCRs, but there is a full set of framing provided by Working Party 29 opinions regarding, on one side, BCR for controllers, and on the other side, more recently, BCR for processors. What should accountable data controllers and processors get prepared for? First, make BCRs lawful, ensuring that they are legally binding and enforceable instrument between public authorities, that they expressly confer enforceable rights on data subjects, and that they specify the long list of requirements as mentioned in Article 43, including this specific obligation to share on the information regarding non-EU legal provision having substantial adverse effect on the guarantees provided by the BCRs. BCRs do not require prior authorization, but shall be approved. And BCRs are communicated by the DPAs to the EDPB. What will be interesting now is knowing what will be a mutual recognition EU-wide process. Knowing more about Working Party 29 guidance on significant evolution before GDPR becomes binding, and then the upcoming EDPB statement on enforcement of BCRs.